Thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're calling in from. If you don't mind just dropping your location in the chat, we'd love to see where you're calling in from. I'm also going to be putting a poll on the screen asking what your skill level is. So whether you're new to automations and no code, or you're in the intermediate level, maybe you built an app or two, or you're an expert joining us today, let us know so we can kind of see where everyone's at and help tailor the curriculum today for that. Otherwise, we're really excited for you all to be joining us from Dallas, France, Brazil, Toronto, South of Africa. So many wonderful places. How exciting. So I'm going to get right into introductions and we're going to get started right away. My name is JJ and I lead our community and education at Softr. I'm super excited to be hosting this presentation with my wonderful colleagues at Make and Sahil. Sahil is one of our experts today. Sahil, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. So, yeah, my name is Sahil. Help businesses automate and digitize the boring and admin work using tools like Software and Make. And I also teach these skills to other people who are looking to run the kind of freelancing or consulting businesses through my online education program called No Code University. Excited to be here and do this methodology today.
And Sarah, a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So I'm Sarah and I work as the AI transformation lead at Make, which means I get to work with employees from Make and find ways to empower them with AI internally in the organization. So that's a little bit about me. When I have some spare time, I do a lot of volunteering when it comes to women in tech. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. For our agenda today, Sarah and I are going to do a short introduction on software and Make, just showing you how, our key value props, all that kind of stuff, and how you can use it to build for your own stuff. And then Sahil is going to walk us through the problem and solution that our live build is going to be solving today. And then at the end of it, Sarah is going to introduce us to some more ways that we could use AI, automations, no code, and software to add additional scenarios to help you solve additional problems. And then we'll open it up for questions and comments at the end. Along the way, we have a couple people in the chat, Ina and Kat, that are going to help us with answering questions. And then we'll also mark some questions to be answered at the end of the session around. So if we mark yours for live, we'll try to bring it up at the end. So stick with us till the very end. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So what is Softr? We like to think of Softr as the quickest way to build software without devs. It is a front-end platform that allows you to connect any kind of data source to it, or most data sources to it, with Airtable, Google Sheets being more popular, Zeno and Superbase on that SQL side, HubSpot, BigQuery, all that kind of stuff. So no matter where your data is, we like to think that at Softr, we can help you bring it to life. And Softr has this block mechanism, and so you can drag and drop all kinds of different blocks onto the page and connect those blocks to your data, and then use an automation platform like Make to bring it all to life. And so it's really easy to customize your applications, your front ends, also having the flexibility and power to deliver a great experience. We also have a ton of different templates, really focusing on the internal tools and portal side of things. We just find that that's really where we can add a lot of value to your orgs. So whether you're an insurance agency and you want to create a client portal for your customers to come in and see their data, that's just their data in a safe way, we can do that. Or any kind of internal tool like a team intranet or team university or anything like that, we make it really easy at Software. And then we have over 100 plus templates for you to use and get started with. And one of the things I love about our templates is the templates also come with database and demo data built in. So if you're brand new to software, what I would say is check out a template. And then that template will also include the demo data. And so you can see how the database is set up. And it's a really good learning mechanism. And then from there, you can fully customize it and get up and running. And then finally, we have Software AI. And so this gives us two different ways to use AI with our builds. Either if you have a data source, say Airtable or Google Sheet, we could take that data source and automatically create an app for you on the front end using that data. And then from there, you can customize it. Or if you just want to give us a prompt of, hey, I'm looking to build an app like this, Software AI can also build that app for you as well. So we have a very generous free plan, and you can go over to Software and check it out. Otherwise, Sarah, it's your turn.
Great. I love that we can do this with Softr because I can see that there's a lot of things happening similarly in at Make side. So our vision, if you go to the next slide, is to create a world where everyone has the power to innovate without limits, which brings back the flexibility where we want to put, if you could go on the next slide, where you put the innovator really in the center. So we really want you to be in the center and connect you with all those different services to bring your visions to fruition, to bring your visions true. So if you go on to the next slides, we're basically one platform where you can create your workflows, where you can automate with all those different kind of services in a very visual way. And be it for marketing functions, being for your internal productivity, or if you go on the next slide, be it for your AI needs. So we are trying to do our best to make it easy, to make it fast, and make it convenient when it comes to what we are automating. That's why we're building an AI assistant which allows you to create scenarios with a simple prompt. But it's not just about making it easier with a simple prompt to create scenarios. But if you go on the next slide, it also is about connecting you to the possibilities of different services. JJ, could you move it for the next slide? Thanks. So these are some kinds of services when it comes to AI that you can connect to during your journey at Make. So you can really leverage all your different favorite LLMs all within one simple platform. So that's Make for us.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Sahil, what do we got with our build today? What problem are we facing?
All right. So I have a question for everyone in the audience. Who likes creating weekly status reports? If you don't like creating weekly status reports, give us a shout out in the chat. Because I remember from my own, there we go, on sound, exactly. So I haven't met anyone who likes creating weekly status reports. I was myself in the position for many years as an engineering manager, Speedy and other companies. And every Thursday, I remember to the report to basically tell the stakeholders and the management on what did my team work on during this week. And I have to compare it to the previous week's report, what was the updates, write it all down, and everyone understands what that entails, and no one likes to do it. So actually, with tools like Softr and Make, I'm innovating all the time and trying to look for solutions. And this was one of the things that I decided to solve because I know it's a widespread problem. So what we're going to build today is basically give this person a break, if that person is the inmate, and sort of automate that part of the person in the position's job to create a weekly status report using these two tools. So let me, this will all make more sense if I start sharing my screen. So should I go ahead, JD?
Go for it.
So I'll share the.
And if anyone has any questions along the way, feel free to put them in chat. We'll be answering them as we go and at the end.
All right. So we're going to start with the game plan. And here I have my tabs in the order of what we're going to do today. Start with the game plan, talk about the backend setup, we want to talk about Frontend, we'll talk about the connectivity. So let's start with the end in mind. So our data for the set is a Airtable. So as you can see, it's a database with projects and tasks. I have all the data here with status and our goal is that our goal is to get to a report like this automatically, right? So currently without AI, this person has to. So we want to give this person a break, do that all with AI. So this is what we are working towards, from this database to this report, all generated automatically. So that's what we're going to try and do. And before we can do that, let's talk about the architecture that we for this build. So obviously several layers with the user interfaces, the database, we have the connector for which we're obviously using Mate, and we have some apps Mate connects with, for example, PDF.pro, OpenAI, and Dropbox. So how does this work? So we have the database in the middle. Obviously, that becomes the centerpiece for all of this to work because we need the data. And we have a client portal, which is built on Softr. And the clients will typically go here, view the status of the project, status of the task, and interact with the data that way. And then team, it's optional. Some people have set teams interact with the data directly in the database through Airtable, other similar tools, or they could also have view within the Softr portal. So for this one, we're just going to do all the backend work directly in the database. but then the clients are going to view the data and the reports that we are going to generate in the client portal. And then of course, Make is going to do its magic to get to our fund. And I'll walk you through all the steps one at a time. So so that's the architecture. And at this point, I guess we can quickly take a look at the algorithm as well, which you use. So now we know this is our end goal, that we want to get to a report like this. And this is the architecture that we are going with, the Airtable, Softr, and Make. So let's talk about the algorithm, because everyone understands, how you have the data in the database, but how are we going to get to the report? So actually, let me backtrack there for a second. Maybe it would be a good idea to go through the database, create the tickets, and come here to the algorithm. So let's get to the backend. So it's a simple Airtable backend. I have a few tables. So I have a users table where all the users for the client portal, right? I have a projects table. So here I have listed all of my projects. So for example, website revamp, mobile app version 3, project tracker, and all that stuff. And I also have a tasks table. So in the task table is where we enter all our tasks, and each task is connected to a project, just like any typical project management set. And then the tasks further a due date. You can actually assign some notes to that task, an assignee, and the steps. So those are pretty typical fields that a task and a project entails. So what would happen is that the project manager or whoever manages projects and tasks will come in here, create the project, create the tasks, and optionally also add notes and update the status of the tasks. And as I said, depending on the view or depending on the setup for your team could either be tracking the tasks and projects directly through the database, or you could also have a view into the portal. So that's basically all we have for the backend. We don't need to go into any other details at this point. So what we can do is now go back here to the algorithm now that we understand how the data is set. So this is basically what's happening at all time, right? So if you remember, we talked about the end result that we want to get to, and we know where our data is. So how are we going to get from this data in the database to a report? Right? So for that, so during the week or whatever cadence you use, things are happening. The database is live, right? Like things are being added to the database, things are being updated, tasks are getting marked as done, start getting, getting a new data, or maybe getting a new assignee and all that stuff. So this is very live. This is happening at all times, right? The data is. So what we do is to get to our final, we need to go through kind of 2 steps. And these are high-level steps, and we will obviously walk into the details as well. But the high-level step number 1 is that we keep a log ongoing. This is an ongoing activity. We keep a log automatically, obviously. You don't want to do this manually, and that will feed the purpose. But we have a kind of a watcher that's keeping an eye at all times on the activity that is happening in the database. And anytime it notices that something changed in the database, it's like, aha, I got you. I'm going to log this because you changed something. You created a task or you updated a task. And update could be many different kinds. It could be you added a note, or it could be that you updated the due date, or you changed the status, or you added a note, and all those things. So update could be of any kind, and created obviously is self-explanatory. So we have a watcher in the middle, keeping an eye all times to see anytime anything changes in the database. He's going to catch that and it's going to log. So that's number 1. And this log is going to be crucial for our step number 2, because now that we have a log of all the activity that took place during the week, then at a given frequency, so let's say if you do weekly reports or daily reports or whatever you have, at that cadence, we can pull from this activity log, the data from the activity log, and then use a prompt and a couple other steps to finally get to our report. So that is the algorithm in a nutshell. So database, people are interacting with that all the time. We have a watcher in the middle, keeping an eye. Anytime something changes, we log it. And for this, I'm using Google Sheets to log the activity line by line. And then finally, at the end of the week or whenever, whatever the cadence is, pull from this log, and we're going to use that data to generate a report. So that's the set. Um, any questions so far that I can answer?
We don't have anything yet, but a lot of people are really excited to maybe get their hands on the Miro board or your template at the end of this. And so we will be sharing the template, the software template, and the make blueprint with you afterwards. Do you think you can also share the Miro board afterwards?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we'll be sure to email that to everyone that's signed up automatically with the recording afterwards. Otherwise, Sahil, keep on going.
Awesome. So we have knowledge in the place and our database all ready to go. Again, like as I said, if you haven't worked with Airtable before, not to worry, worked with a spreadsheet before, you will be a pretty good place to get started. You have your columns and fields and data. You get like a typical spreadsheet. Obviously, there's a little more to it because, for example, we can connect each task to projects, but it all makes sense once you get your hands. Okay, so let's then move to step number 2, which is our. So I'm going to open the Software Studio and I'm going to open the AI project management portal. Okay, so let's go to the projects page. Let's refresh. Okay, for some reason I don't see my project right now. Let me see the live view. Okay, there we go. So what's happening here in the studio is on the left here, you have, so this is the Software Studio. This is your canvas, basically, where you build your application and to the database and all that. So what you have here on the left is all your settings, right? So you have your pages, your theme, if you have any users for the app, in general things, and pretty easy to use. You can kind of scroll through, create a new page, change the settings for the theme as well. You can add your brand colors, you can add your logos, all that good stuff. So you can do all of that here on the left. But then when it comes time to sort of actually build a page, you start with a blank canvas, and then you see this plus button. And when you click on this plus button, you get this menu on the right. And this menu is basically, as you mentioned toward the beginning, software is all around block. If you have used Notion, also Notion uses block. So it's very similar, except in Notion, the data stays directly in Notion, but here the data comes from other data sources, but the front end blocks you're going to select from this. So for example, here I want to, and then now they are in the client portal. So this is the view that my client of yours is going to see to track how their projects are tracking, how the tasks are tracking, all that stuff, right? So you want to show them all the projects that are in the list and database. So you're going to look for example, you just filter by list, and you're going to see browse all these blocks. So you can see, what is the static content? You also have some static block, but we want the dynamic ones here because static blocks are basically data that you put into software and it stays the same as forever. That's static. But we want dynamic data and we want to pull from the database. So as soon as you select the block that's sort of your requirements, so let's say, for example, I have a grid. So once you click on the plus button there, that block gets dropped here onto the page. Now it comes with some dummy data to begin with, but the first thing it's going to ask you to do is select your data source. So this is where then you would select Airtable or whichever data source you want to use, and you're going to select the base you want to connect it. Because in Airtable, you could have many different bases. So I would select my project tracker base, and it will ask me, okay, which table? So remember, I have all these tables here: users, projects, reports, activity log. And in here, I see all those same tables. So I would select projects. And then we can keep going like this. And then eventually, and then you basically go through these tabs and configure all the settings, exactly what data you want to show. It's already putting my project names. But if I wanted to get this value from another field, I would go here and change which field this value is coming from. So for example, here, the name, I could have changed it to status or something like that. So this all depends on your own requirements. And so that's how you connect a block in Software to your data in the database. And I'm going to delete this one and kind of keep going because I already have this project block for some reason now, but it's the same one that I. And then in here, I also have a tasks block. So this is pulling in tasks from database as well. The difference is on this particular page, I have the tasks from my entire database. So think of this as like admin view, they can see tasks across all of the projects. So here I have all of the tasks getting pulled in because in the settings, I just selected the task table and all the only condition that I have, as long as there's a description, I want to pull it in because if it's not a task that's not ready yet, I don't want to. So that's the only filter I have. But what I also have is if I go into the project details page, so this is the projects page, which pulls in all the, if I go to the project details page, uh, in here, what I want to show is basically the data related only to that particular project. So on the projects page, I select project, I will land here, and then I want to see data only specific to this project. So I have the Kanban board here from Softr, which is another block. But then in the filters, so you see there's the Kanban board, but in the filters, I want to only see details of the project related to the one that the user clicked on the previous page. So that's how you can filter it down to a very specific data set. View. So that's how this is. So maybe let's quickly go to the live version of this. You can, see that. So let's just refresh one more time. Okay. So as I showed you, so these are actually top 3 projects that are getting pulled in from the table. You can see this one is in progress. This is started, not started, and then that's the same data that we see here. I also see the related task here, and this one again, as I showed you, is the all the tasks from across all the projects. So let's click on mobile app v3, and now we get into the details view, and now we only see the tasks for that particular project. And what we also see at the bottom of this page is an activity log. So remember from the game plan, we talked about activity log that we are going to maintain at all times. And how I'm doing that is I'm saving that in Google Sheets. So what's nice about the setup is that on the same page, my data is coming from 2 different sources. So this data is coming from the table, whereas this data is coming from Google Sheets. So Softr is dynamic in that sense that you can pull in data sources, although it for the same project. If this, as you can see, that task 8 was created. Here you can see task 8 was created by Calculus. So it's the same project, just coming from 2 different data sources. So that also brings us to the activity log. So how exactly is it created? So what I'm going to do is I am going to minimize this. Actually, let's keep this one. And in here, I'm going to create a few tasks. Okay, so currently we have 6 tasks for this project, and I'm going to create like 3 more. So I have some Andy. The mobile app projects for research and integrate a user authentication system, create a task, and let's give it a due date. Today is the 7th. Let's give it 1 week. And for the notes, I'll say this is important for security reasons or something. Add that. Okay, so that task that just dropped. And actually, one thing I want to do is to turn this off for now, and I'll come back to that in a second. And then let me create a couple more tasks here quickly. Develop a seamless in-app payment feature for premium content. Those are created using GPT, of course. Let's give it 2 weeks. All right, this is important. Request for the education or something like that. You get the idea. And add that. So 16 added, 17 added, and let's do one more. Implement a user-friendly onboarding process. Okay. And let's also, we can do in 2 weeks, and we would say a lot of users have been confused. It's more related to interesting. Okay, okay, so what's happening is I created 3 tasks. Those showed up here. And remember from the algorithm, there's supposed to be a watcher keeping an eye. So remember, like I created a few tasks. Now this watcher should be doing its job and pulling the data and adding it to the log. So how does that? So for that, we bring in our next, which is make. So in make, I have a scenario. It's a pretty basic scenario. Although to get to it, there's a couple of formulas that I have to use in Airtable to work exactly the way I want it. And what's happening here is it's watching the Airtable records and pulls them as they get updated, pulls them in. It runs every 15 minutes. So my watcher, takes a break and then comes back every 15 minutes to check if anything changed. Because clearly there's not activity is not happening that frequently that it has to be run every second. 15 minutes is fine. And then what it does is based on what it will log that to my Google Sheets document. So in here, it's just a pretty basic document with different headings. So I have the log of what happened. What is the type of this activity? So was it a created activity or was it a modified? Because I want to differentiate between the two for my reporting purposes. And exactly what was modified. If it was modified, what was modified, right? And what is the task ID, the description of the task, what project does it belong to, what is the current status to. So we get all this data here because then this data is going to drive our reporting. So let's quickly run it because I created 3 tasks. So if I run this now, so imagine it's running every 15 minutes. And there we go. So pulled in the 3 created tasks and it went to this created route because I have a router here, right? I have a router. So depending on this created activity, you go to this route. If it's a status update activity, you go to this route. If the due date was changed. And the reason I have these different ones is because the thing that I logged in the sheet and the data that I logged in the sheet is different based on the scenario. I want to be very, very granular on all these. So 3 tasks were created. So now let's go down our log. And there we go. We got 16 was created by Sahil, 17 was created, 18 was created. So these are the 3 that are created in the dashboard. So that's how we get the data into the log. And now what we can also do is we can go back here and maybe update it. So let's say task 5 moves to in progress. And let's say one of the tasks that was in progress moves to, or well, we don't have anyone in done. So let's move to do one into done. I'll just move this one to done directly. Okay, there we go. So now I updated 2 things. So again, the watcher should do its thing around every 15 minutes. So let's just run that manually once more. And now notice I went into 2 status updates because I updated status for 2 different tickets. And we say status updated to in progress by Sahil. Type is modified, but changes the status. And then we get the task and the project. And I also get now it moved to in progress. And for this one, I get the move to done. Okay, so very, very granular data. Very cool. Now, what we can also do is, and this sometimes take a couple of minutes to refresh, but let's see if we have this data already. Not yet. Refresh one more time. If it doesn't, then we'll come back to it. Yeah, this synchronization sometimes take a couple of seconds with Google Sheets, but it should be coming in at any moment. What I'm looking for essentially is these activity logs that were added here. I want to see that reflected in here so that when you're in the project details view, you can also see the log real time as to what has happened recently. But we have the data in here, so no matter, it will eventually show up. Okay, very cool. So if we quickly check in on progress, we have already basically added some tickets here, and then we saw how the logging works, and we have our latest and greatest log in Google Sheets. So this part is now done. So now it is the time to build the report. So that's going to be the bulk of. Okay, so let's minimize this for a second and minimize this also. Okay, so we can open this one. Okay, and so this is a log, long sort of, well, when I go through it, one step at a time. And funny enough, it starts actually at the at the Airtable level. And the reason it starts at the Airtable level is because in Airtable, I have a table called report. In here, I have all the reports that were generated previously. And it also has a created date for the report. So actually, I'm going to change this to 26, and you'll know the reason. So what we do in Make is that we start from this table and we see, okay, when was the last status provided? Okay, it's provided on 26 June. So that means that we can ignore everything that was reported until 26 June. All we care about is data that has been added to the activity log after 26 June. So in here, we have in the activity log the date or the timestamp of when the data was added to the. So this is the only data that we care about for this week's status report. And that's exactly where we start. So we go here, we pull in the created date, we pull in the details from the table, and then, or actually in here we're just pulling in basically the last report. So we get the created date of the last report, and it looks something like this. We get, okay, so last one June 21st. Now we have a date. So we need to record everything that happened. So then we go over to Google Sheets, and in Google Sheets, we will pull in the data from our sheet, and we will give it the created date from your table. And we say, give us everything that happened after. So it's going to come back and give us all the data after the last reporting. And then what we do next is basically we take this data from Google Sheets, we build a nice JSON using that data because we want to send the data over to OpenAI to be able to generate it. And it's nice, it's better if we structure our data properly. So kinds of thing that we have here is the type of the log, what was modified, what is the task ID, all the things that I showed you in Google Sheets, we map here, and that area we will be able to send this data over to Google Map in a very structured way so that it can read it and parse it to generate our report. So that is how we get our data from the activity log. And now we walk into the next territory, which is the part where the bulk of it happens is to actually generate the report. So to generate the report, we need some structure, right? We want the report to be pretty standard across, from week to week and day to day. We don't want it to change the structure so that, because it's going to the clients or the stakeholders and they should be familiar with the structure of the report and not be presented with something new every week. So we want it to be very, very structured. So for that, what we did is I'm using something called PDF code. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to, given any HTML, convert it into a PDF. So our goal with OpenAI prompt is to take data from Google Sheets and then use a pretty structured HTML format and then combine the two to sort of our report. Of course, OpenAI is going to not just report on the data in a raw format, it's going to actually explain the data as well. So to do that, first thing we need is our HTML. So basically, how should the report look like? And for that, what I've done here is I have a HTML report here, which of course we will share with you, and this sits in my Dropbox. So I have this HTML here, and so our prompt for OpenAI actually is two. So not only we have a prompt actually, did you see my code screen or no? No, if I'm sharing that.
We could just see your make scenario.
Okay, so hold on, let me share that as well. Good.
A lot of people asking how come you use Google Sheets for your separate log database.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll answer that one.
Okay.
Share that. Okay, so yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you that I have an HTML report and it sits in my Dropbox. And the nice thing about this is that because it's in a Dropbox, I can make changes to it at any time without changing my make scenario. So let's say I want to change the status of or the structure of my report. All I have to do is change the HTML here and then save it, syncs with Dropbox. And then the next time or the next week the report runs, just pull the latest and greatest. I don't even have to touch my make scenario to make any changes. And the other thing I was mentioning was the prompt for a report is actually twofold. Some of the prompt appear in the HTML file directly because I have the structure and then I have an instruction to write a brief executive summary, highlighting the key updates for the week. Right? So some of them stay here, and then some of it stays. and some of it stays here. So let's see how that works. So first thing we do is I have a link to my template file. So we pull that from Dropbox. So we get the raw HTML, and then the prompt. Of course, we will prompt. So I have two messages here. One is for the system, prime it that, hey, you're a very organized project manager who creates easy to read weekly executive report to progress projects. So it gets, okay, what is my role here? And then, or who am I performing as? And then the role for the user, we have this pretty verbose prompt. But one of the things that we provided is this thing from data setting Dropbox, and that is the report should follow this provided HTML format. This HTML format, as I said, comes from Dropbox. And we say the activity log is available as a JSON, and that comes from a JSON that we created earlier using our Google Sheets data. And then finally, we tell it that the output should also be a JSON. I want it to be in HTML format, my HTML. And then I also need a couple of other things, for example, the summary and the action required. And the reason I need these two is will become obvious once we run this. So we get three things in output: the report, the summary, the action required. And finally, the last setting, the advanced setting that we have is we set it to the response format should be a JSON object. I want a JSON back because it's easier to work with for the steps down in the other parts of the mixing. So that's the prompt. So we give it some instructions, give it the HTML format, give it the data, and then go to combine it all and create our report. And then once the report is created, or the HTML, so this is going to give us the HTML output. Then we run it to PDF code, which is going to take the HTML, convert it into a PDF. And then once again, we upload it to Dropbox, make that link shareable, and then finally add all that data into the table back into this place where we started. Okay, so that's a lot of steps. And I think it's a good time to then actually run the scenario once and see what we get based on the activity that we just did live. Okay, so I'm going to run it. And of course, you're going to set it to whenever you want to run it, once a week, whatever that is. So we got the data. Seems like an OpenAI will take 30 to 45 seconds. In the meantime, I can answer the Google Sheets question. No good reason, to be honest. I just wanted to show that with Softr, you can work with different data sources as well as for Make. So you can see, like some data coming from Airtable, some coming from Google Sheets. So you could very well do the same with Airtable, no problem. It's just to show how you can work with different data sources. No other reason. Okay, so true. And let's look at our database and see what we get. So we got report 27 today, and we got a summary. So let's see what it says, and then action required, and finally PDF. So come on, this PDF. Okay, so we have our logos there. We got an overview, some updates. So task created 16, 17, 18. So these are the that I created live, and then I also modified some tasks. Something was moved to in progress. If they work with this item, this changed from in progress to that indicating completion. So again, the data here is going to be as good as your prompt. So you will have to instruct it to tell you exactly what you want to do with the data. So what we see here is based on prompt that I provide. We don't have any blockers at the moment. We also have highlights, and then it also gives conclusion. So it is looking ahead, we are optimistic about the progress of tasks such as the ones created. Upcoming weeks will focus on for the blah, blah. So it's so as I said, the details here are going to be as good as your prompt, but this is how you get to sort of the fun. And just to wrap on it, we quickly go back to the front as well. So on the client portal, so this is where it all comes back to the Softr. We click on the reports tab. And this tab is connected to my projects and tasks as well. So here, I have an overview of all my tasks. So how many are, what status and how many are completed by project and just overall. So I can see that. But here I also have the weekly reports. So because it is connected to my report table in the database. So here we can see a summary. This week saw significant progress with creation, new tasks, team has made strides forward. So I think it's going to be a little more detailed as to what we made progress on. So this can be improved a little bit, but action required, no immediate actions required from stakeholders. Be encouraged to review the tasks created and keep an eye on the upcoming development. And then finally, the same thing. So we have a button here to click on to see the full report. So if I click this, I will get to the same Dropbox link that I showed you earlier from the database. So stakeholders can also see the report directly in Dropbox. So that's how we sort of eliminate the human work in the middle and to our code. I know we mentioned this pretty quickly, but you will get the blueprints and as practice. So I'll stop sharing and we can begin the questions.
Awesome. We have one question I'm going to bring onto the stage. And by the way, great work. Don't you love it when it actually works, right?
Exactly.
Are you inserting any dynamic fields into your HTML code?
Yes. So, well, actually, in the HTML code, no dynamic fields. All it has is the structure, the static HTML, for example, the headers, or the images, and all it has is HTML comments, which are being used as prompts. So, no, like, I'm not actually lifting and shifting data from my JSON into HTML. That's all done by OpenAI.
Great. We have another one here. Can we use multi-step form conditional steps in Softr to collect data in Airtable? Can clients see only their own projects and tasks? Can client create their own team to manage their projects? So the answer
Yeah,
is yes. The answer is yes. Using multi-step conditional forms, you can collect the data. You can use user groups to assign certain permission levels, and then you can easily use conditional filters and global data restrictions to make sure that only the data that your team is supposed to see can be seen, and also apply that to action buttons and other things to make sure that your data is safe with just the people that need to be able to modify it. All right. Let's do one more question and then let's move on to Sarah with some additional AI scenarios that could be done with Make, Softr, and more. Let's see. Any other ones that maybe ringing a bell here? The first one, so I'm going to bring up this one right here. To create dashboard, do we need to do different plugin add-ons in Software, or can we just connect and calculate our data, then visualize them in dashboard? I'll take this one as well. Yeah, we have many different blocks in Software, and so we have chart blocks, and so it takes the data source that you feed it, and you can create those charts directly within Software with no additional plugins or anything required for that. Cool. So we're gonna do some more questions as well, but first let's bring Sarah back to the stage, and we have some additional opportunities here that AI automation and no code can be applied. Sarah, it's all yours.
Thanks so much. No, I don't know many people that can do so many amazing things in just about 40 minutes of time. So hands up to Sahil for this amazing automation. I know there's a lot of beginners just starting out among us, and this might already seem like quite an overwhelming use case. But don't worry, as mentioned, you will get your blueprint. So you will get basically a document that you can put into Make, and it will all appear for you, and you can just run the scenario and just enjoy the benefit of this working out. If this is still overwhelming, you can try out some simple use cases. So if we go on the next slide, there's one that's very simple potentially for you, and you can keep track of your task and use AI to do it. So just imagine that you are using Slack, and there's a lot of requests that always get lost because there's so many messages coming in and you're losing track of it all. So what you can do is this very simple automation that you can test out on your own. You can create an automation watching for new messages at Slack, then use OpenAI to write a ticket for them and essentially upload it for the project management platform of your choice, be it Jira, be it potentially Sahil's use case. So that's the first one that I wanted to tease you with. A second one is imagine you now have the report. And that's great. Everyone can open it and look through it and get their opinion. But sometimes you also have different obligations, such as, for example, steering committees, and you have to have slides for that. And who wants to spend time making slides? So this is one of the automations for you could watch out for the files in Dropbox. So whenever there's a new report created, you can then use OpenAI to transform that report into different kind of data, and then essentially format that data and put it into Google Slides and have your slides created for you. So that's the second use case. And third one, and personally, I don't ever want to spend my time doing some user management. So one of the potential integrations that you could also build is to essentially let automation handle any user management when it comes to your software solution. So anytime you have a new user on Softr, you just trigger that automation automatically, and it will generate access details for that user. It will add them to the Softr platform and essentially send a Slack message with the access details to that particular person. So nothing tedious for you to work on. So those are just some examples that you could take and start with, and potentially those are easier ones than this entire scenario that we've just seen from masters like Sahil. If you go on the next slide, there's still some pointers to get you started with. So Make is free when it comes to certain number of operations, but we also got you covered when it comes to just playing around, test it out. We really want you to experiment and explore what are the different opportunities. So you can just scan the QR code and get plenty of opportunities to get you started. And there's some couple other examples or pointers that are worth to mention, such as pre-built templates, where you just go to the template, you click on try, and it tells you how to set it up. And you can, again, see the results of the automation without trying to work out the difficult stuff first. So yeah, these slides and everything will be shared with you as mentioned previously. So maybe let's get to questions now.
Awesome. I have some questions I'll bring on to the stage here. A variety of questions across the board. Why don't we start with this one from Lorenzo? Can I use Google Drive instead of Dropbox, Sahil?
Yes, of course. As long as I think for Google Drive, you need to be on the paid Google Workspace plan for it to work with Make. If you have that, for sure, it's the same. Basically, at the end, we just need a place to store our file because Dropbox or sorry, Airtable not want you to use them as a file storage.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's worth noting that Make is very flexible. So if you saw something that you might want to interchange in this demo, you could probably do that with its flexibility. Awesome. Let's move on to our next one. So with all these integrations between Airtable, Softr, Make, Google Sheets, OpenAI, how can we make sure no hacker tries to steal the data? It's a good question. I'll try and take a first stab at it. I'd say, the connections being made here, especially with it in Make, doing a lot of this, it's all, encrypted on the server side, which HTTPS encryption there. It's standard level of security. Between Airtable and Softr, we do all server-side filtering as well. That's all encrypted as well. So every step of the way, even though there's a lot of points, it's all encrypted behind, enterprise security servers. Anything else on your sides?
I mean, the only thing I would add to that is that if you do need to meet certain compliance requirements, then yeah, definitely do your due diligence. Like for example, HIPAA is a big one in US. So if you are under those obligations, then it's best to check for using any of those tools or make sure the one that you use do follow. But security-wise, yeah, obviously all the companies do their best to make sure the data is in transit.
Maybe I can add to this that from Make side, we also have Make Enterprise. So there's a lot of big companies believing in our security standards and encryption standards. And we obviously try to do our best to deliver up to these high standards. So if they can trust us, I would really hope that you can too.
Awesome. How about this next one, Sarah? How does billing work for Make? Is it based on workflow, execution?
Yeah, so it's based on operations. I don't know, Sahil, if you want to go back to your scenario and show so we can point directly where the operations are. So operations basically every single execution that you have between those different modules that you put into your workflow. But you can find it very easily. So if you can see the little bubbles on top of your modules, when you see the little ones, that basically says that has consumed one operation. You essentially see how you can combine your operations within the plan that you need, but the changing between the plans is actually very flexible. So you don't have to worry about it too much at the end of the day.
Great. Thank you. Another one here. In Softr, can blocks or elements be visible or invisible to users based on different conditions? Basic members, premium? The answer is yes. You can have dynamic conditions that render these blocks, this data, these buttons visible or not visible in many different ways. So we make it really easy for you to do that. And we know that your data needs to be kept safe. We know that only certain people should be able to change it or delete it. and you can do that all within Softr, not a problem. All right, what other questions do we have? I got a couple more here in chat. Sarah, feel free to ping any that you see on your side as well. I have one here. Can we use multiple Softr apps in one Softr app? So if you get a Softr subscription, yes, you can build multiple apps for that Softr subscription. Hopefully that answers it. Unless you're thinking like Inception, apps within apps, you can also embed within Softr. And so if you want to embed another app of any kind and throw that into Softr as well, that could also be done. Another one here is how best can Softr work for me as an upcoming IT business analysis? Softr and Make can work for you in a lot of different ways, and this is a great tool to use for both of those. You can have portals to show maybe technical ticket for your team to be able to submit things. You can create a portal for Q&A. You can create a portal for technical guides, all this kind of stuff. And then you can use Make and the automation to really make it even more magical. So there's really unlimited use cases. It just depends on the problem that you're trying to solve, and you can just customize a solution for your problem. What else do we got? Sahil, will you be making a Make course?
Yeah, I'm actually working on it right now, and it's coming very soon.
Very cool. We're trying to get Sahil to do a Softr course afterwards as well. So
they're competing with each other.
Excellent. And just a reminder, we're going to be sharing all the things that we went over today with you all via email after the fact. We'll also include some discounts to Softr and Make with you as well. We really appreciate all of your participation today, for your attendance, showing up, being very kind. Also really appreciate Sahil for putting as much time as he did to make this masterful automation to just create magic in front of your own eyes. It's a really great time that we're living in right now with tools like Make and Softr. You can do so much in such a little time and impress your stakeholders in so many ways. You don't need to tell your boss that you attended this and then now have an automated way to do these reports in the next hour. But if you did, it'd be okay. So what I'm trying to say is,
and I'll just add to that a real example that I came across recently in a Make community. Someone shared that they observed, this wasn't their part of their job, they observed a workflow which was taking so much time by everyone, and he decided to automate it, just took the initiative, presented it to the CEO. The CEO was super impressed, gave him an extra bonus, and kind of promoted him to kind of take charge of all of that work. So take initiative.
yeah, it's really one of those times where a lot of people still don't know these tools that exist. And with tools like Make It Software, it's so easy that you can now whip it up in an hour or two, take that initiative and find new opportunities for yourself, whether it's within your own company, all this kind of stuff. So thank you all for attending today. We really appreciate it. We'll be sure to send you the recording of the email and everything else via email. Anything else, feel free to reach out to us on our socials, Make, Softr, Sahil, anything that we can do to help. Thanks again for your participation, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Everyone.